In the name of the cosmos. Hi, Mercury. Well, it's about time you move forward. Well, how much can you take? You've been in Libra since September 22nd. You need to rush through this sign and start to find solutions. I mean, Venus is in the 12th house from behind you right now, just complaining, and you're so tense you can't figure anything out. It's good you move forward. It's good to move on. Don't cling. I love you, Mercury. Mercury moves direct on November 4th, picking up speed as he moves through the sign of Libra. Welcome to In the Name of the Cosmos. My name is Sari Prakash. I'm a Vedic astrologer, and in today's video we're going to examine the direct motion of Mercury into the sign of Libra, understand who is afflicting him, who is depositing him, how we can better utilize his energy through this very challenging time of November, and then at the end of the video we'll take a look sign by sign to see what is getting awakened for each and every one of us in the classrooms of life. Now, Mercury first made his entry into the sign of Libra on September 22nd, and then he started his retrograde motion, and now he starts to move forward, and he's picking up speed, and he will leave the sign of Libra on November 28th. Currently, he is in an exchange with Venus, who is debilitated in Mercury's sign of Virgo. And this Parnavatya yoga is not bringing the best results normally that it would give because of the affliction that Mercury has upon it. But Venus will move into its own sign, joining Mercury on November 17th. And I'll make a separate video about what this will indicate. But currently, right now, he's in this exchange with a very agitated Venus. What is Mercury? Mercury is our planet of our communication. It's our planet of our intellect. It's a planet of our logical mind. It's a planet that rules our nervous system. It's the planet that rules our ability for transaction and commercial ability, this exchange of value, right? And what is Venus? So Venus is this planet of our comforts, of our security, of our stability, of our pleasures, of our relationships, right? And here Venus is debilitated, and it's under this very harsh aspect from Mars, this push and pull of really where Mars, who's retrograde in Pisces, has no direction, so it's not able to have this normal kind of tense passion. It's just this frustration where we're not actually getting along, where we're feeling very neglected, where we're feeling like nothing is right, really looking at things half full, right? So we look at this planet of action and these two planets of commerce, right? Really not being able to do the jobs that they are really skilled at doing. It's also the sign of Libra. While Mercury transiting through it, Libra is very heavily afflicted through Mars's 8th aspect, which is quite wide, but it still gives a negative result. And then from Saturn, right? So these two harsh planets are making an extreme pressure to the sign of Libra. So those who have an ascendant, thank you for taking the hit for the rest of us. But it's really a pressure point, you know? So really understand where Libra is in your chart to really see where this kind of hole is for you. So these are the energies that's playing the backdrop of this symphonic sound of this pulse, this clock of time that's really telling us what's unfolding, right? He's been in the sign of Libra, and since the 22nd of September, and he'll be in Libra until the 28th of November. But as he moves direct, he starts to pick up speed, and he'll move quite fast, and he's going to move through 2 lunar houses within this field of Aries. So he's currently moving through Chitra Nakshatra, where he was retrograde. And he went through this space of where we build things, where we create things, right? And so when his retrograde motion, we were lacking this ability to create a foundation. And now he will move through Swati Nakshatra, and he'll go through Swati Nakshatra until he passes through. And here this nakshatra is ruled by the planet Rahu, right? The node of the moon. This is important to understand because we had the full moon in opposition with Mercury, and now we have the node of the moon who's depositing Mercury with its perceptional lens, with its consciousness, right, of a direction. It's ruled by the deity of the Vayu, so these protectors of direction. And with Rahu being a very smoky planet, a very, kind of a trickster planet, it doesn't really reveal things, right? So it's a real challenge for us to find our clarity. So this is also too where I see where the elections will be really unclear of who's winning. So it will be very deceptive first, what will be revealed, and then secondly, the outcome of the elections in the United States. And with the United States, it's truly erupting. It's a very challenged nation right now, where it's being really split into two, and where, there's just such a heavy economic crisis within people not being able to pay their bills, feed their families. It's a really challenged nation, and it's impacting the world as well. So the United States is not isolated. So for those of us who don't live there, it's still impacting how our leadership is also interacting and the economic viability of it, right? So it's really through the end of the year, really, because we've got two heavy eclipses that will come up. This next one that's coming in November is very challenged. And so we have a lot of harshness that's coming to us. But if we can use the quality of our prana, right? Because Mercury is our nervous system, it's our logical mind, right? So if we use the quality of our prana to help redirect our focus and to regulate our emotion and regulate our thought process, we can engage much more effectively. And we can do it very simply. We don't have to sit on a mat and do a full set of yoga to do it. You can just simply engage with your prana, breathing consciously in and out when you're feeling overly charged or feeling overly irritated or overly emotional, so that you can navigate and direct yourself in a better way that's right for you. Because we're going to be very restricted in the next few months. There's going to be a lot more pressure put upon us. There's going to be a lot more regulation put upon us. This is going to restrict our ability to earn economically. It's going to be a restriction for our ability to interact with each other, because Mercury is a very social planet. It likes to connect. It likes to talk, Although with people who are very Mercury dominant, they can talk and talk and talk. They don't necessarily listen. But, it's a place where we want to communicate. And Venus too, it wants to connect. And both being under the influence of Mars, right, is also this human interaction. It's just pushing restriction. This is also indicated through the full moon cycle that we're currently under, that happened under Bharani Nakshatra. So you need to really prepare yourself mentally of how you're going to relate with this, because greatness can come through crisis. Greatness can come through the crisis that occurs and then the healing that transforms us afterwards. Because we are in a shift of consciousness. We are in a shift of a paradigm change, right? And right now there's a very deep hold and not wanting to let go, to allow newness to come in. And so we're in this kind of dark period, but we ourselves are containers of light. And if we cultivate this light and we're not overly aggressive also with our opinions, just like verbally vomiting on people what we think and what is true and what is real. If we have compassion for the other person, and recognize the intolerance that we have inside of ourselves, we can more effectively communicate with another so that we can negotiate. Good old-fashioned negotiation has just disappeared from our mental and communicative landscape, and we need to start to cultivate this again. Otherwise, we create more separation. That's not just about a pandemic that's happening. It's about the separation of our inability to connect and disagree and still respect. So we need to really inhale peace, exhale compassion. Inhale peace, exhale compassion. This is a really important message for this time, because we're just going to be escalated through this tension through this frustration and through a really hard time on the planet of how we come through. But we definitely do come through, and there is no mistake. You know, it's not anybody's fault necessarily. It's actually truly this clock of time that starts to shift where we need to go. And we don't control this clock, and we do not control the universe, but we are containers of light, and we can control how we interact with this. Now let's take a look sign by sign to see what's occurring for each and every one of us in the classrooms of life. Now this is according to the Vedic system of astrology. This is different to the Western system of astrology by nearly 24 degrees. I'll make a link in the description box below where you can calculate your own sign to make sure that you're looking from the right position. Now for Aries, this is occurring for you in your 7th house of partnership, and your ruling planet is in your 12th house, so you're not the most happy camper of them all. This is really just a time for you to really consider about your relationships, about your contracts, but don't make any agreements right now. I would say for you to wait for you to make any solid changes within your long-term agreement or even in your romantic partnerships. Wait until January. Just hold out, because with your ruler in your 12th house, it's really making a lot of pressure to you. So it's not the time yet to make any kind of long-term change. And with Venus in your 6th house, it's really not giving you the result that you want, so you're frustrated. So don't allow your frustration to make bad decisions. Just wait it out. Taurus, this is occurring in your 6th house. This is your 2nd house ruler and your 5th house ruler, and in your 6th house. So right now actually is a time for you to just keep yourself anchored and not feel too unstable, right? So right now it's hard for you to find your anchor in what is real, what is true right now, because 6th house, we want tough planets, and Mercury in the 6th house doesn't perform so very well. And with your ruling planet being debilitated, it doesn't give you a lot of good information, right? So just wait until your ruling planet moves out of Virgo, and it will give you a lot more insight. Gemini is occurring in your 5th house of the things that you create and of your children, the things that you manifest in this earthly plane, and you have Venus in your 4th house. So there can be indications of problems with children. Maybe children are just trying to grow away from you or be independent, you know. You can have problems with your children and the communications with your children. It also indicates that with your partner, perhaps there was trouble in the period when Mercury first entered in September, and now it starts to get more clear and become more what the issue is that needs to be resolved. Like you're able to put it more concretely in a way that is understood and received well with your partner. So now you'll start to see things start to smooth out for you, Gemini. For Cancer, this is occurring in your 4th house, your 4th house of home. You know, you definitely were having problems with your partnership. So here it indicates now a more clarity of what you need to negotiate. It's also a good time with work. So if you need to really negotiate things with work, you know, because of where the full moon was for you, if you need to negotiate things with work, it's a good time to come into agreements with it now. Leo, this is occurring in your 3rd house. Leo, you're not having the best of time right now, so it's unclarity with money, waiting for money to come in, feeling frustrated of not being able to tie things up, maybe waiting for payments right now. You'll start to see things become more fluid as Mercury moves direct, so it starts to improve. You know, it was a very hard time for you in the early part or the later part of September, early October, but now it starts to move forward for you, so it gets better for you, Leo. For Virgo, your ruling planet in your 2nd house, Venus in your 1st, this is good for money. This is good for money coming to you. This is good for you in legacy. So in you working out legacy agreements, communications with your partner, right? Because with Mars in your 7th house retrograde, it's making a lot of pressure with your partner. And with Mercury retrograding in your 2nd house, It made a very harsh exchange with your partner, but now it starts to get smoothed out and it starts to get clear, so it's better for you. Libra, your ruling planet is debilitated in your 12th house. Mercury is sitting in your 1st house. You'll start to see improvement now with work, you know, with where the full moon also was for you. So you'll start to see a lot better things occurring for your work in terms of agreement and finding work. So this is a better period for you with your relationships, your contract agreements, and your business agreements. Scorpio, your ruling planet is retrograde in your 5th house. The full moon was in your 6th house, and now you've got Mercury in your 12th house moving direct. You will feel more empowered after the 28th when Mercury moves into your ascendant. You know, you've got Ketu sitting in your ascendant, so there's a lot of shift and changes coming for you. But when Mercury comes into your 1st house, you'll have a lot more clarity, especially with Ketu there, because Ketu and Mercury I love a lot. It gives a lot of depth in the thought. It gives a lot of depth in the process to really dig in and find the solution. So just hang in there. When Mercury comes into your 1st house, you will have better. And then when Mars finally moves direct mid-November, you know, you'll start to feel more juiced up. You'll start to feel less tense. It won't be so inverted anymore. Sagittarius, Mercury is in your 11th house. He's your 7th house ruler and your 10th house ruler. So here it's bringing in more clients, more opportunities for business, for things to flow. You've got your ruling planet strong in its own sign. You know, he's getting ready to leave in November, so you have a really great time for building with clients, building new opportunities with clients, agreements, because 7th house is not just our partnership, but it's also contracts and agreements. So this is very good for you with him in your 11th house ruling your 10th. It really will bring in new revenue for you. Capricorn, for you, this is in your 8th house. So this is a bit of a challenge. So this can be, again, as I mentioned in the Mercury video, like you need to watch out for people talking about you in your workspace. Like there's something within your workspace that is not so clear. Maybe you think somebody you can trust, or perhaps you can't trust them, but there's somebody within your workspace that's going to make you challenges. So just watch what you say. Don't overshare. You know, keep your private world private, and, you know, don't be too, you know, because you're Saturn ruled sign. Don't be too Saturnian, you know, and just like make your bottom line statement, and that's what it is, very stubborn, locking it in, because there's somebody within your workspace that's causing you problems. So just take care with that. Aquarius, this is occurring in your 9th house, and Mercury rules your 5th and your 8th house. So this is quite nice for you in that it actually gives you depth with teachings. It gives you depth with learning things. It gives you depth with a connection of wisdom, right? So there's a real wisdom that starts to come through in taking decisions and pulling information together, kind of making things more solid. So this is a great transit for you with him moving direct, especially when he goes through Swati Nakshatra, because you're co-ruled by Rahu. For Pisces, for you, this is occurring in your 8th house, and you have a tough time because you have Saturn aspecting your ascendant, you have Mars sitting retrograde on your ascendant, so you're under pressure anyway. And the full moon with it was in your 2nd house, so there was also too this subject about verbal intimacy and this connection with your partner and the agreements with your partner. So you want to make sure that you are not drawing your line in the sand, right? Because it really brings out this need, can trigger this need for really wanting to end things, that this is it, it's the final straw. Don't do this until Mercury moves out of your 8th house into your 9th house, because it will bring you more clarity of what you feel is missing, of what you feel is neglected, or where you feel you're not being met. It will come after Mercury moves out of the sign of Libra, and it will bring you to a state of awareness of your decisions and the long-term impact, because you're very short-sighted right now, because you have 2 very malefic planets on you where you just want to get out of the gate and just take a decision. Thank you very much for joining me in my video today. Please like and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. May you be blessed with Mercury. May you be blessed in wisdom. May you be blessed in knowledge. May you be blessed with finances. May you be blessed with patience. And may you be blessed with compassion. Satnam.